Yes.
How you doing, sis? My question is, do you have, or what is your vision? You gave at camp statistics that showed basically mathematically, or it would take such a long time that our children would be condemned to generations of second-class citizenship.
Yes.
It would be impossible politically, economically, and socially to integrate into the society. So is there a vision or a plan to enlighten the masses of black people and others to see if we want to strategically create a whole new system, and if whites would want to sincerely give up white privileges and be given a true understanding of what it means and what sacrifices it would take to create a true society of justice, whether it be study groups to really give them an understanding of the forces that oppose that movement. Another thing is, I believe in the second part of the question, that using the provocateurs of racism in power have become much more strategic, militant, and technological, and subtle. So I do not believe that for us to fight racism with old 50s and 60s tactics will work in this modern day and time.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is, what vision do you have so that the young people can have a clear understanding of those who oppose this, and how we can form we the people so that we can have strategic educational movement, strategic political movement, strategic economic movement, strategic social movement, but also a spiritual movement, for the Most High Bible teaches us that our problem is spiritual, requiring a spiritual solution, because we need to really understand how much black people, white people, all people, are we really willing to sacrifice our lives and our privileges to create a new society of justice? And my last thing, sister, is this.
Well, I better start right now.
I want to say is that what God has put in you is greater than you. It is for the benefit. And you have become a national treasure. We understand those in power in previous times have taken those national treasures away, like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, and we as so-called the people have stood by and watched, and then we mourned later, put their hats up with their names on our shirts, and then cried about how good they were 30 years later. So I said, would you consider, since you are running for president, no presidential candidate, I have not heard a political person in my lifetime speak the truth openly and publicly that you have spoken. This makes you a national treasure which those want to steal you from us. So I believe you have a duty to us, not just yourself, to leave yourself open. What happened over here was a real problem, because me being an FOI, we have a security mind. Yeah. That can't happen. So I'm also asking, would you consider a team to secure you where you go, so that people cannot just approach you in a maniac way? I love my brother, but he was out of pocket. Right. Second of all, I want to call on particularly the men and brothers, and as men, that we do not allow in future instances, take this as a learning opportunity, to not allow anyone to allow a nuisance on or near our posts. Because particularly a nation can rise no higher than its women, and if we leave our women out there like that to be attacked, it says a lot about the condition of our nation, and we are doomed as a people. Thank you, family. Peace.
Thank you. Discussion about the assassination of Julius Caesar, because you guys have to pardon me, because I usually have my thoughts and everything all written down, and I didn't do that this time. And but the purpose of starting out about that was because I understand very clearly the issue of security. I have my own security issues. In fact, it's shown in the American Blackout film. But there's also, like, Michael Parenti wrote the book, so now I gotta call him and I gotta ask him some questions, because if 14 people were murdered over the course of 70 some odd years, and they each were standing up for the people, why did the second one do it? when the first one set the example, when the murderer of the first one set the example. I think we can learn from what happened with Malcolm X. In the book entitled The Assassinations, that book discusses the two Kennedys, Malcolm and Martin. And what that book tells us is that on the morning, well, we know that the FBI wanted Malcolm dead, and that there were some agents who were sent to tell him that. They told him that. But what we know very little about is the fact that he would get these phone calls. And on the morning of his murder, he got a phone call saying, "Today is the day." Right. Now, Malcolm didn't have to go to the Audubon Ballroom. He could have taken his family, and he could have run away, and he could have hid, knowing today is the day. But Malcolm X, after receiving the phone call, told his wife, "Get the children ready." And they were there. He went there to his death. So, now there have got to be some things that we care so deeply about that we don't care about life, because it is our life to achieve these things. Now, for me, I mean, I feel really deeply. Of course, I have a son, so I don't want anything to happen to me. But in the face of knowing what Malcolm did, how can I be a coward? I see cowardice. I used to work with cowardice in the Capitol. I know what it looks like. I have no respect for it. And so even though this little effort to get this little 5% is a huge effort, the implications are huge if we can invite the American people inside the public policy-making room and tell them, "Sit down and enjoy this conversation." Because right now we're locked out of the room and we're locked out of the conversation. Now if we can do that, that's huge. So you better believe that there's going to be some security issues. So my hope is that I could have all of the young brothers standing around me all the time. Because it's very serious. And let me also just say that when Fred Hampton was murdered in his bed while he was sleeping, his protector was nowhere around. And so we have to understand that the role of the protector, and we have to understand also that everybody who protects you ain't protection. Like the Secret Service. I would much, in fact, I think it was, what's that, Debka? One of those websites that said, you know, "Lord, last thing we need is Cynthia running for president because she'll outsource the Secret Service's job to the Nation of Islam."